In this next activity, we're going to be using a variable. Now, a variable is like a reserved word, and what it does is it expects a user input to be entered into the system, and whatever the user enters into the system will be saved as this variable, and then the system then can recall whatever the user input was at a later time. So what we're going to do in this activity is create a variable that records a username and then repeats the username back to the user within the context of a sentence. So let's set up this program. So what I'm going to be doing is putting in a label first. I'm going to go, please enter your name. Okay, now this actual label, I'm not going to give it an actual name because it's not going to be involved in any of my coding, and labels in general usually are to aid basically the user on the directions of the program, or at least in some cases. So we are going to be using another label in this program that I will need to name because it is going to be involved in the coding and the running of this program. The next thing I'm going to put in is a text box. And this text box is going to be so the user can enter their name. Okay, so it allows the user to input their name into the system. I'm going to name this text box txt name. txt name. Once again, all lowercase, all one word. Okay, the txt signifies it's a text box, and name indicates what type of data it's going to be used for. Underneath the text box, I'm going to put a button. Okay, and this button is obviously going to execute my program once the user has entered their name. Okay, the button, because it's related to the name being entered as well, I'm going to call btn for button, and then name. Okay, after that, so it records their name, and the button I will call input name. And then finally, I need an area where the actual name is going to be repeated back to the user. So I'm going to enter in another label, and I'm just going to click here. Now, this label, as mentioned, I will actually need the code because this is going to actually be the response, okay, from the program, signifying that they've learnt the user's name, and then they're going to put into a sentence. So this label box, I'm going to be calling LBL name, okay, because it's going to repeat the name back through a label box. And the reason it's a label box too is it's uneditable, okay. I can't use a text box here because if it was a text box repeating the name back, it can be a suspected change by the user. So labels don't allow users to actually click on them and change what the text is. Okay, so that's going to be called LBL name, and its text is going to be made blank. And once I do that, I'm not going to see the label box at all. So I'm just going to go backspace and press enter, and it looks invisible then, although it is still there. All right, so that's the setup for my interface. I'm going to shrink my form a bit so that it actually suits what's been the screen elements that are on my screen. Okay, and then let's put in the code now for this program. So I'm going to double click on input name because this is what will execute the program. Okay, and as we can see, btn name there. Now this time I need to put in a code first to declare the variable. So we need to create the variable first. And I'm going to put that right under the public class. And the code I'm going to be putting in is dim. Okay, and that used to stand for dimension basically, and it was called dimension because it was only used for recording arrays. But now we use it for recording variables. So often people make other names for the acronym. Some people say designate in memory or declare in memory in order to remember what dim means, but that signifies the variable declaration. Okay, so we're going to say dim, and then I've got to give a name for my variable, and since it's recording username, I'm going to actually call it username. I could call it anything I want, okay, but I've got to give it a name that obviously is meaningful for me as the programmer, so that later on, if I need to recall this variable again, it makes sense what it's called. So I'm going to dim username, and I'm also going to put in the type of data it is, okay, and insert its data type, so as, and the data type is string. Okay, so I've declared my variable. Okay, and then I've got to tell the program basically what to do. So firstly, I need to say, where is this variable's data going to be obtained from? And essentially, it's the text box. So username, which is the variable, equals txt name, okay, because that's where the user enters in their name, but it's recording specifically the text. So the text put into txt name is what's going to be recorded as username. Next, LBL name dot text, so the text that appears in LBL name is going to equal, and it's actually going to say a message with the user's name in it. So it's going to be hello, and then space, and I'm going to go plus the username plus comma space welcome to my program. Okay, and that's all we want our program to do. So it's going to basically use a variable to record the user's name, which is entered into the text box, and then LBL name is going to display the message hello with the user's name and say welcome to my program. So let's give this a test. Play. All right, here's my program running. I'm going to enter in my name. I'm going to go Mr. K. I'm going to go input name. Hello, Mr. K. Welcome to my program. Okay, so as you can see, through using the variable, it allowed the program to record what my name was and then allow me to insert my name into a pre-made message from the program and really letting it feel like the user is a part of the experience. Okay, it's actually customizing the experience for the user because I can insert their name into different parts of the program. So give this program a try. Obviously do a lot more formatting than I've done in this program, try to use different fonts and colors to really dress it up. But yeah, see the power of variables from what you've learned in this program.